Hi everyone, welcome to the another tutorial. And first of all, a big thank you for the appreciations on my previous tutorials. So today I'm going to talk about the arrow function in the JavaScript version 6 and the rest parameter and the default parameter. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. So just to remind you once again that this particular tutorial will be in a continuation of my previous two tutorials, and if you haven't seen those tutorials, then you guys can find the link below in my description box. I will add those tutorials there. Okay, and again, so if you see able to see my screen, then I will be using the same UI sample app which I have created in my earlier tutorial, and I'll be using the same lightning web component which we already have in the VS code available here. Okay, so just to add to you that I have little bit modified my LWC component. I just simply added the button, and with the button I just added the attribute of the class which you can find on the Lightning Design System site of the Salesforce, and the name attribute and the on click attribute. And on the clicking of this particular button, we will be calling the handle click method, and this particular method is written in the modern JS example.js file of this particular LWC component. Okay, so as of now I have just commented all of the statement which I have written in the connected callback, and I'll be only using the handle click for now. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to discuss here, that the arrow function. Okay, so before proceeding to the arrow function, let's take one example that how we used to define the function in the JavaScript version 5, which is a ES5. So ES5 way of defining the functions. Okay, so in the ES5, what we used to do, let's say where, and where then the name of the function called foo is equal to, let's say equal to function, then the function body. Okay, and with this particular function, what we used to write here, let's say I will be returning the x multiplication by y. Okay, and pass the parameter at, let's say, x comma y. Okay, and at the time of calling this particular variable, we will be passing the parameter for the values for the x and y. So I will put the console dot, let's say I'm calling this particular method in the console dot log, and within this particular console dot log I'm calling the foo, and with the foo I will be passing the two parameter 2 comma 4. So this is the way that we used to have in the ES5 way of defining the function. Okay, but in the ES6, what we have changed like this way. ES6 way of defining the functions, and so basically we can get the rid of the writing the keyword call the function over here. So let's say we can declare the function like this way: let call foo, then the parameter, then the arrow keyword, and is called equal to, then with the arrow keyword we have the body of the method, then that's it. Then call the return of the x multiplication by y. Okay, and we will be passing the x comma y from here. So x comma y. Okay, and so I'm just commenting this particular piece of code because we are not going to use this thing again, and I will be calling this particular foo method within the on click of this particular method. Okay, so let me simply declare this particular function within the same function, so it don't make any differences. Okay, so on the clicking of this particular method, I will be appending the values like this way. Okay, so I'll be calling the foo and 2 comma 4. Okay, and let me deploy this particular source code. So let's wait for the source code to be deployed into the org. So my source code got deployed successfully, and let's go ahead to the application and check if our functionality is working or not. So when I click this particular button, then it will showing as a 8 as a response. Okay, so which means that we can declare the function like this way also by using the arrow keyword. Okay, now there is one more modification we can do. Let's say if we have only single line of a statement within a function, and we will be returning directly as a return x multiplication by y, then we will not be needing the curly braces as well here. Okay, so we can remove like this way, and we don't. So this is basically returning, so this will be a unreached code, so I need to declare this particular function outside the handle method. Okay, and so guys, so we can remove the that curly braces and the return keyword as well. Okay, so those return keyword not needed. So see the shorthand way of writing the function. So within a single line, we can write our function like this way. Okay, so if you save this and deploy this particular code to the source org, let's wait for the code to get deployed successfully. So my code got successfully deployed, and let me go ahead to the browser again and check if my code got is working or not. So it got refreshed successfully, and I'm clicking this button, and I got the 8 as a response here. Okay, see, so how easy is to define the function into JavaScript. Okay, but let's say if you don't have any written, but if you wanted to just perform any some certain set of logic, then definitely you can add the curly braces as in the previous example that we have added, and you can add the multiple sets of statement within this particular block. Okay, all right. So this is one example. Now the second example, what I'm going to take here, the rest parameter. Okay, so with the rest parameter, what we have, so let me show you the list of. Okay, before the rest parameter, I wanted to show one more example, that this particular example. Okay, now what we have like this way. So now you will ask that what's the major advantage of using the arrow function, like, right? So because it's not making such kind of a difference, what's the bigger advantage of this particular by using the arrow function in the JavaScript 6? Okay, so the bigger advantage of if you see the example like this. Okay, so we have the let attribute, and sorry, we have a let variable, and this particular variable is a object, and within this object we have a hello, name, and the show message function. Okay, Now if we have the show message like this way written over here, so this dot names, so names is an array, is an is iterating on the names, so it got iterated, so this particular loop will be executed twice because we have a two values in the name available, and we are also printing the this dot hello here. Okay, so when this particular method try to access the this dot hello, so it will not be able to access because this particular hello keyword will not be accessible outside the block. Okay, so if we will be accessing this particular hello just within right here, then it can be accessed, but within the another level of the block this hello will not be accessed. Okay, so to uh, uh, to resume, I mean to get the get the access of this particular hello, we will be using, we will have to use the arrow arrow function. Okay, now so here we have already used the arrow function, so let me take like show you like this way. Let's say we have a name, and within this particular name we will be accessing like this way, so we are not using the arrow function here. So if we don't use the arrow function, the this dot hello will not be accessible. Okay, but if we use the arrow like this way, okay, then we will be able to access the directly the hello attribute here itself. Okay, so this is the major example, major advantage of the using the arrow function. Okay, now there is another example that I want to talk about, that the rest parameter. Okay, so now the rest parameter, what with the rest parameter what we can have like okay, let me take this particular example, and so let's say we have a function, and we have a function called show contact, and within the show contact we have a parameter, first name, last name, and the another n number of parameters. So in my previous tutorial I talked about the spread parameter, which means remaining array of the parameter. Okay, so this title will be the array of the remaining parameter. Okay, now within this particular function we will be printing the first name, last name, and the remaining parameter. Okay, now what happened here, so the first name will be one single variable, the last name will be a single variable, the third parameter will be a array of the variable as an array. Okay, so we have a array object. Now by using this particular title, you can print the title of the zeroth index and the title of the first index, depending on the number of parameters that you are passing at the time of the calling of this particular function. Okay, now let's say we have like this way, so you are calling the show contact like this way, so this will be the first name, this will be this last name, and this all remaining variable will be line going to inserted into the array of the titles. Okay, so the zeroth index will be attached with the developer string, and the first index will be going to attach with the architect string, right? So you don't have to mention the tons of attributes over here. Okay? So this is one of the major changes got done in the JavaScript version 6. And the third thing that I wanted to talk about, the default parameter. Okay, so the default parameter is a simple one. So let's say we have the first name, the last name, and we are not passing the last name as an attribute, or we are not passing the another, let's say the first name as an attribute. Then what will be the default value of the first name and the last name? So in this case, so now let me show you the another example for the default parameter. So okay, so this is the example, and let me show you. So this is the example. So guys, I'm not going to run the each and every syntaxes right here, so you can take the pause of the video here and try to execute the same line of code in at your end as well, so that you can understand this particular I mean these all this syntax at the time while you are watching this video. Okay, so I was talking about the default parameter. Okay, so let's say we have a param1 and the parameter 2, and at the time of the calling you are not passing the parameter 2. Okay, so then what will be the default value of the parameter 2? So the default value of the parameter 2 will be considered as a world. Okay, so okay, so this is the last thing that I wanted to talk about. And okay, yeah, so that's it from my end. And if you guys have any question, then put your question in the comment box. I will try to answer those questions as soon as possible. And thanks for watching this video again. That's all from my side. Thank you. Bye.